Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be going over a few of my favorite games from the 2025 SA Open. This is a tournament that I won with half a point. I got 8.5 and the next two players got 8. It was a very tight tournament at the end. I think I won all three of my last three rounds, which was very clutch from me. And yeah, I managed to win the tournament, and today I'm going to be taking you over some of my favorite games. Firstly, we have my game here from round 9, which started my streak of victories, and I am playing against Benjamin Vincent Hercules. Very strong player. You can see his rating is 2084. My one is 2003, which is the same as my year of birth. And anyway, let's go straight into the game. So I opened with the move pawn to e4 and Benjamin played pawn to c6. Now this move I was not expecting at all. In my preparation I prepared solely pawn to c5, the Sicilian. So I was out of prep on move 1 already, but I know that Ben doesn't really play this because in all his other games he played pawn to c5, so him going pawn to c6 is kind of avoiding my theory, but at the same time I can be pretty confident he doesn't know the theory fully. So I played pawn to d4, pawn to d5, and I played knight to c3. Going for the main line, sometimes I play the exchange variation, but now I went for the main line, and here he played knight to f6. Now I'm really not a fan of this move that Benjamin played, because I can just take, and like I always say, in this variation of the Caro-Kann I can literally exchange off all the minor pieces and just play an endgame with the passed pawn. And you'll notice this 4 versus 3 here is really good for me. So that's why I'm not a very big fan of this variation of the Caro-Kann knight to f6, because I feel like it helps me more than it helps black. Better move I think is bishop to f5, and this is the main line. You go something like this and you put your bishop here on h7. But yeah, knight to f6 was played. I just take it, pawn takes, and now you're gonna see a fight over this square on f4. So keep this square in mind, this f4 square. There's gonna be 5 pieces from black attacking this square, 5 pieces from me defending this square. The whole game revolved around this f4 pawn, f4 point, and Benjamin tried to exchange his doubled pawn on f4, and I tried to prevent that. So anyway, knight to f3. Here comes bishop to d6, bishop to e2, castle and castle. By the way guys, I spend a lot of time in the opening. I know a lot of YouTube channels that I watch, they like to just skip over the opening like it's nothing, but personally I believe the opening is the most important part of the game. Like, so much can go wrong in the opening if you make one simple error. So I always tell my students that as well. You need to make sure you take your time in the opening. It's not just develop your pieces blah blah then you're done, because you need to be very precise in the opening. So anyway, here he played rook to e8, bishop to e3, knight to d7, and here I played d5. So this is my first step. As I was saying, I want to exchange off everything and then play an endgame with simply an extra pawn on the queen side. So I played pawn to d5 expecting some takes and maybe, I'm not sure, knight to e5. I was expecting this, yes, I remember. Something like this takes, and then I just drop my queen back and play a game. But after pawn to d5, my opponent played pawn to c5, and now here I thought, I'm very happy. In the long term I have a nice pass pawn here on d5, so basically anytime I get to an endgame I'm gonna be having an advantage. and this happens 95% of the time in this knight f6 variation of the Caro-Kann. That's why I really do not recommend this opening at all for black. Like, I played against woman FM Chloe, and she played this variation against me twice last month, and I had no problem in winning both of those games. So yeah, I really enjoy playing against this one. So now I just played queen to d2, connecting my rooks and hoping for some stuff. And now he played pawn to f5, and I want you guys to pause the video here. Pause the video and try and think, what move would you do? And I nearly blundered in this position. I hope you guys have paused. If not, I'm gonna say how I nearly blundered. I nearly played this move pawn to c4 to solidify my center. This would have been a huge blunder because pawn f4 is just winning a piece. So if you guys made that same mistake, I nearly made it in the game. So I had to play rook to e1 because I saw this threat of f4 last minute. And now he played queen to c7. I thought slightly more accurate was gonna be queen to f6. Now threatening f4, which would be trapping my bishop, and also threatening the pawn on b2. If queen to f6 had been played, I was planning to play bishop to f4 and get something like this. Although I'm sacrificing a pawn, I think, you know, I'm quite happy. And yeah, engine agrees that white is okay. So anyway, Benjamin played queen to c7, the same idea of playing pawn to f4, but a much more passive approach. And remember, I said the game is gonna be a fight over this f4 square. Now I played the move pawn to g3, putting another defender on f4, and now knight to f6, pawn to c4, trying to solidify my center, knight to e4, and I chose to play queen c1. So why did I play queen c1 when I have much more natural squares like queen c2, for example? As I said many times already, I'm trying to control this f4 square. If I play queen to c2, f4 will come, and you know, I'm basically forcing open my own king. So that's why I played queen to c1. Yeah, he played bishop to d7. And now I want you guys to pause the video again and try think, how can I get more defense on this f4? Because it's inevitable that, you know, black might go h6, g5 and f4. I'm going to need to have more defenders on f4. By the way, while I give you guys time to pause, I'm just gonna say, in this video I'm only gonna be looking at like three, maybe two, three of my games, because if I analyze all 11, this video is gonna be 3 hours long. But I must say, if you guys want to see all 11 games, please leave a comment. You know, you might just get a 4-hour video from the boomer remover. What a blessing. But okay, how can I defend the f4 square? Well, I'm gonna put my knight to g2. So this was a nice little maneuver that I had in the game. Knight to h4, and next I'm gonna go knight to g2, and potentially I'm gonna go bishop to f4, and so forth. So he played rook to e7, knight to g2, other rook goes to e8, and now I have control of the f4 square. I don't need to put a piece on it right away. I played much more active bishop to d3, and this knight is in my camp, my side of the board, so exchanging it would be very, very good. Now Benjamin plays h6, So remember I said h6, g5, f4 is gonna be a good idea. And once again I'll invite you guys to pause the video. Here I found a very, very nice move. I'm very happy with this move that I played. And this is a very, very subtle move, so if you guys are low rated and you get this one, you should be very proud of yourself. And I played very simple move, queen to c2. Now f4 is no longer an option for black. If they play f4, I'm just gonna take it. And you can see like f4 does really nothing for black. So I can move my queen away from defending f4, and I can make a new threat. By playing queen to c2, I have a threat of playing f3, kicking the knight away, and winning the pawn on f5. That's why Benjamin played queen to c8, to try and solidify his pawn. I played pawn to f3 anyway, and Benjamin plays knight to f6. Knight g5 was another option. I was probably gonna chop that knight off. But knight to f6, and now I played bishop to d2. So I'm trying to get the rooks off. And still, in my very first point that I made when I saw this opening was what? What was my first point? I want to exchange off everything, get to an endgame, and win. That's my same strategy I use every time somebody uses this dumb opening of knight to f6 in the Caro-Kann. So bishop to d2, and the rooks were exchanged off. I take with the bishop. I could also take with the knight, but I thought, you know, bishop takes is slightly better. And here he played pawn to f4, so the pressure has finally given in, and he played pawn to f4, which is a full pawn sacrifice. But what does pawn to f4 do? Well, it opens up my king. So for the pawn, in exchange for the pawn, he's gonna get my king open. But I take with the knight, bishop takes, pawn takes. And here I'm a pawn up, and I have this very, very beautiful bishop pair. Once my bishop gets to c3, you're gonna see the lines on the king are crazy. So yeah, he played knight to e8. I played simple queen to e2. My queen is not doing anything on c2, it would be doing a lot more on the open file. Knight to d6. He puts his knights on a very good square here. A knight should always be the blocker of a passed pawn. Simple chess intuition. Bishop to c3. And here I thought my bishops are very beautiful, both of them. Looking straight at the king, and some queen e5 checkmate threats are gonna happen. So queen to f8, and now I played b4. Oh, why did I play b4? Well, I want to attack this pawn on c5, right? For example, queen to f2. But then he can just play b6. So by me playing b4, b6, and exchanging now I feel like it's a lot easier for me to attack this pawn, and he has no b6 to defend it. But yeah, so that's exactly what I did. Queen to e3, knight to f5, and here I was really considering going into a an opposite color bishop endgame like this, and now playing d6 off these bishop moves and chopping the pawn on c5. But I thought that is a bit of an unnecessary risk, so I played queen to e5 straight away, pawn to f6, and now I played queen to c7. And I was a little bit nervous in this position, because I thought I'm moving my queen to attack when it should be defending, because my king is very, very weak. So I was slightly nervous here. You can see I spent 7 minutes on this move, queen to c7, because I was slightly nervous about his follow-up, queen to e7. By the way, this is not a free knight, because I will get a check and then my bishop will be taken back. So queen to e7. I play bishop to e4. By the way, this queen is threatening some serious stuff here on e3, so that's why I played bishop to e4. I just want to stop queen to e3. Another option I was looking at is bishop to d2 to stop queen to e3, but I didn't like knight to d4 coming in with some serious attack. So yeah, bishop to d5. Now he played knight to h4. His threat is to take on f3 and then play queen to e3 check. So I saw that and I played d6. He can't take on f3 right now because you'll see at the end of this variation his bishop on d7 is hanging. So after d6 he's forced to play queen to e8, and now I take on c5, covering the e3 square. So once again this doesn't work because the square is covered. So queen takes c5, king h8. Now I played queen to f2, just dropping back and securing my king. So queen h5, c5, bishop f5, and in this position I made a huge blunder. And I don't even know why. I have 15 minutes to think. By the way, my friend Cholton suggested a nice variation here, which is to sacrifice the queen. And even though I'm a queen down, these pawns are gonna be too fast. Some variation like this, and I go put my bishop here and I play c7 and make a queen. So Cholton pointed this one out to me, but in the game I made a huge blunder, which I thought I'm just gonna play pawn to c6 and pawn to d7 and d8 and make a queen, but this is a massive blunder because he can just take. My calculations were incorrect here. I thought he's gonna play knight to f3 check, and I thought this isn't really doing anything. I can just move my king, but I completely missed that he can play queen to d1 first. Now I have to block with the bishop, because if I play queen f1, knight f3, I'm gonna be in some trouble. I block with the bishop, knight f3, king f1, and here he had a draw. If he took here and played queen to f3, I mean, it's a bit difficult to find this draw, but he would have had a draw like this. You see, I can never escape the checks. But that is quite a difficult one to see. You don't want to give up your very nice knight for a useless bishop. So here he played queen to d3, king g2. He now gave up the knight and he took on d6, and I played queen to c3, which is slightly inaccurate. Better would have been queen to c1 to protect my pawn and threaten pawn to c7, but I played queen to c3, aiming on this, and somehow winning here. Maybe simple idea such as that. But okay, queen to c3, he didn't take my pawn, he played queen c7, and now I just played e5. And two passed pawns, it's gonna be very difficult to stop this. He plays king g8, queen c4 check, king f8, queen d5. My big threat is queen d6 check. So he played king e7 to prevent that. And now I just played a4. Here he was playing with seconds, so I'm kind of just making any moves, waiting for him to blunder. You can see I just played a few waiting moves and then played queen c5 check finally, and queen to d6. So obviously he can never exchange queens because I will just be winning in that endgame. He played queen to b6, and now I did a quick calculation and I saw that his checks are running out after this. and in this position he resigned. Well, why did he resign? There's no way to stop c8 queen. For example, if queen c5, I just go check, make a queen, and take. So yeah, this was one of my nicer games. I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, the next game I want to show you is a very, very accurate one from round 1 against Everson Chetia. And here I'm playing with the black pieces. He played e4, c5, knight f3, and here I played e6. So while I'm preparing for this game, obviously I'm studying my opponents, and I noticed that every single game that I've played against him in the past, he played d4 and he played knight c3, bishop f4, which is the Jobava London variation. So I spent the whole time prepping for this, and then of course he played e4, c5, knight f3, and here I always play d6. Always played d6, but I thought if he's playing e4, he must have prepped something crazy for this d6 my knight off. So yeah, I decided to play e6 and go for a Sicilian Khan variation instead. But yeah, so like I was saying, openings is very, very important. Don't just skip over. Don't play your openings fast just because you want to. Make sure you are playing very accurately in the opening. One wrong move and you could be having a tough game. So anyway, here, Mr. Chetia went for d3, which is the closed Sicilian, which is a bit boring. So I just play knight c6. The next moves all sort of make sense. G3, d5, trying to take the center. Very this looks like a French defense now. Knight d2, knight f6, bishop g2, bishop e7, castle, and here he played c3, and I played pawn to b6. So I wasn't sure what I want to do with this light square bishop. Like putting it on d7 makes no sense at all. That's why I played pawn to b6. I thought the bishop would make a lot more sense on the a6 diagonal than on d7. So anyway, my opponent played queen to a4. And here I spent some time because I'm not really sure what I should do. And I played queen to d7. Now this move looks very, very weird. Like way more natural is queen to c7 or bishop d7 or bishop b7. But queen to d7, my idea was his queen isn't defended. So maybe one day I can play knight d4 and have some sort of tactic like this. So he played rook to e1, bishop to b7, and here he played knight to f1. So he wants to clear the way for his light square bishop and maybe potentially reroute his knight to e3. So now I found a very nice combination which starts with pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and knight to e5. So like I was saying, the reason I played queen to d7 is to take advantage of the fact that his queen is not protected on a4. So this isn't a free knight because I can take his queen. So he takes my queen, I take back this way, and here I was very, very happy in this position, especially after takes, because I thought my knight is going to land on d3, my rook's going to come to d8 and c8, and I'm just going to have a very, very easy position. So here he played rook to d1, rook to d8, contesting for the file, bishop f4, and my knight goes to d3 simply, attacking bishop and the pawn on b2. And here he made a bit of a weird move. He played bishop to c7. So his idea is that he doesn't want to go passive with bishop to c1, or he doesn't want to play b3 and allow me to take his bishop. By the way, I think here would have had bishop f6. Nice. But anyway, he played bishop to c7, rook to d7, and now he played c4. So after the game, I asked him why did he play c4, and he said he was worried about me playing c4 and clamping this knight on d3. But I think c4 was not the best move because he doesn't have time to play this. I have too many threats in the position. For example, knight b2. So now I want to double up my rooks on the d file, obviously, but I can't do that because there's a bishop protecting that square. So I play rook to c8, bishop f4, and now I double on the d file that the bishop is gone. And here there's no real good way to hang on to the b2 pawn. For example, if you play b3, I'm just winning. Pause the video, spot the tactic. It is knight to f4, and once he takes the rooks, obviously if he takes my knight, I take his rook, and if he does this, I throw in the in-between check and then take his rook. So he played bishop to c1, and now the same tactic doesn't work because he will take this way. So that tactic doesn't work. Now I found a very nice move, f5. And you'll see why I played f5 in a few moves. He played f3, takes, bishop f6. So my idea was to play bishop f6, and bishop d4 with check. And I thought if I include this f5, f3, now bishop f6 is a lot more powerful because it's going to be coming here with check, and it's going to be just a check, and that bishop's going to be very strong on d4. So yeah, he played bishop h3, trying to attack the e6 pawn, and I played king f7, defending the pawn with the king, which is a nice move. Knight to e3, but you can see his position is just fully collapsed now after knight to e3, and I can just take the pawn on e4 with my bishop. And all my pieces are very, very strong. Well, his rook is stuck in the corner, and the bishop is on its home square. Even though this bishop made 4 different moves, it's back on its home square. So here he played rook to f1, trying to pin my bishop. And I do remember he had a threat. That's why I played king to e7. I can't remember what the threat was now that I'm analyzing the game, but I do remember there was a threat when I was playing. So yeah, he played knight to g4, and yeah, I just have a winning tactic now. Try pause the video and see if you can find it. For those who did, I'm sure you did find it eventually. It is knight takes c1. The idea being that if he takes it like this, I'm just gonna go bishop d4 check, and this knight being pinned is never gonna work out for bro. I can play like rook to f8, bishop d3. My position is just very dominant. And if he takes the bishop, which he did in the game, I can throw in this knight e2 in between move, now take. And once he takes, I can play bishop d3 and win back my rook. Or even stronger, what I played in the game is rook to d2 check. And once he comes up, now I play f5 to protect my bishop. And my rook is very, very powerful here. The other rook is going to come to d3. And you can see the game ended. Here, king f6, g4. rook d3, and a checkmate right in the center of the board. So this game happening in round one, this brutal attack was very nice for my confidence. And yeah, let's look at one final game.